I've been driving Uber in Phoenix for a little over 6 years now. Night shift mostly, less traffic, better tips, and I don't mind the quiet. You see some weird stuff, sure. Drunks, arguments, the occasional backseat hookup attempt. But nothing really rattles you after a while. That was until 3 months ago. I wasn't even going to drive that night. It was a Thursday, around 11:30 p.m., and I just dropped off a guy in Scottsdale when I figured I'd call it a night. But then the ping came in, pickup near South Mountain, just off Baseline Road. Only a couple miles from where I was. 5-star rider. No profile photo, no name, just R. I hesitated for a second. Something about it felt off. But I was already out. And I hate saying no to easy money. When I pulled up, the street was empty. Not deserted, just one of those weird in-between areas where housing developments haven't totally caught up with infrastructure. The kind of place with a few streetlights that flicker when the wind shifts. Then I saw him. A man standing barefoot on the corner. Not moving. Not waving me down. Just waiting. I assumed he was a vagrant at first, but he looked clean. Pale. Dressed in dark clothes, black jeans, plain black t-shirt, and no shoes. Just standing there under the sodium light, not looking at the car. Just staring across the road into the scrubby desert. I tapped the horn. Nothing. Rolled down the window a crack. "You are?" He nodded, slow. Then walked around the car and got in the back seat without saying a word. The door shut soft. I glanced at the dashcam, which I always have running, both front and cabin view. He just sat there, hands on his knees, eyes straight ahead. "Where we headed?" He didn't answer. Just raised his hand and pointed forward. I tried again. "You got a destination, man? You didn't put anything in the app." Still nothing. He just pointed again. I should have cancelled the ride right there. Just told him I couldn't take him without a drop-off address and gone home. But something about him, the stillness, the way he never made eye contact, I don't know. It was like being around someone who's been awake too long. Not dangerous, just off-kilter. Finally, he spoke. Just 3 words. "End of the road." His voice was dry, flat. No emotion, no accent, no sense of age even. It could have come from a 25-year-old or a 70-year-old. Just tired. I sighed. "All right, man. End of the road it is." So I drove. The map was blank. No set route. I figured I'd head toward the south edge of town, where the pavement starts to lose its confidence, and the desert tries to claw back what it lost. Maybe he lived in one of those old trailers out past Gila River. Maybe he'd jump out at a dirt turnoff and vanish like people do when they don't want to be found. But I kept glancing at him in the rear view. He didn't blink much. Didn't fidget. Just sat perfectly still, knees together, hands on his thighs. Almost too perfectly still. And he never looked at me. Not once. That's when I started to feel the first real chill creep up my spine, and not the kind from bad AC. We were about 20 minutes into the drive when I realized I hadn't seen another car in a while. It's not unusual on those stretches out near the reservation, especially that time of night, but this was different. No headlights in the distance, no tail lights in my mirrors. The road itself felt dead. Even the radio had started picking up static, and I usually get decent reception out there. The man still hadn't said anything else. Just sat there. Every now and then, I'd glance in the rearview, hoping maybe he'd fall asleep, or at least shift positions. He didn't. Still hands flat on his knees, eyes locked forward. Not on the windshield, not on me, just into the space ahead of us, like he was waiting to arrive at something. I tried again. "You sure this is the way? There's not much out here." Silence. "You got a road name? Marker? Something?" He lifted his hand again and pointed forward. Same slow movement. Didn't even look at me. Just pointed. I felt my grip on the wheel tighten. It was subtle, but the longer he was in the car, the more the temperature seemed to drop. I checked the climate control. It was set to 74. Still, I felt that dry desert cold, the kind that gets into your bones at night, no matter what season it is. The dashcam kept rolling, little red light blinking. Then, somewhere past the third unmarked turn-off, he spoke again. Almost there. Still that flat, scratchy tone. Like someone reading words off a cue card. All right. I muttered, though I had no clue what there was. It looked like we were heading nowhere. The headlights carved a thin tunnel through the darkness, but beyond that? Just sagebrush and low hills. The moon was barely a sliver, so most of the terrain was swallowed in shadow. Then, and I swear this is true, all the road noise seemed to fade. No hum of tires, no distant wind, no engine vibration. It was like we were moving through space rather than Earth. The silence became so heavy, I started to hear my own breathing. My pulse in my ears. Then the GPS blinked out. I don't mean it lost signal. I mean the screen went black. The app closed on its own. The entire display flashed like it had been unplugged. Then, a second later, the screen came back, but the map was blank. No roads, no pin, no anything. Just a blank pale grid with a single pulsing blue dot. Us. I felt the first real jolt of panic. That's when I saw the sign. A wooden stake with a piece of metal tacked onto it, the letters hand-painted in white. End of road. And sure enough, the pavement ended. Just like that. The yellow lines faded, the asphalt cracked, and then it was dirt. Beyond that? Open desert. Sparse brush, jagged rocks, and the dark shape of a shallow ridge maybe a quarter-mile out. I hit the brakes. The car rolled to a stop. The dust curled up in the beams of my headlights. The man moved. He reached for the door handle slowly, so slowly it felt exaggerated, like a puppet being worked by a nervous hand. The latch clicked, and the door opened with a soft creak. He stepped out barefoot. Gravel. Sand. Thorns. Didn't flinch. Just stood there for a second, facing the ridge in the distance. Then he started walking. No hesitation. No backward glance. That's when I called out. Hey, are you sure this is it? He didn't answer. He just kept walking. Right into the dark. Then, and this part still messes with me, the dashcam feed stopped. Right as the door shut. I stared at the blacked-out dashcam screen for a long moment, not sure what had happened. The little recording light, always solid red, was gone. Not blinking, not dimmed. Just off. I tapped the dash. Nothing. Reached up and hit the power button on the cam itself. No response. Dead. The screen on my phone was frozen too. Uber app wouldn't load, and even the clock had stopped updating. It just read 12:37 a.m. and held there, like the whole system had locked itself in place the second the man got out. I sat there, engine idling, hands on the wheel. The dust from the stop had settled. Everything outside looked flat and colorless in the headlights. 100 feet of gravel and dry brush, then just a wall of darkness. He was already out of view. Gone. I wasn't sure what the hell to do. Usually in this kind of situation, weird rider, drop off in a strange spot, you finish the ride in the app, swing a U-turn, and get the hell out. But with the app frozen and the GPS showing a blank map, I wasn't even sure I could leave a record of the ride. And the way the dashcam had gone dark, it was like the car didn't want a record. Still, I sat there for another 5 minutes. Maybe more. Trying to convince myself to turn around, call it a glitch, and forget the whole thing. But then, I swear to God, I started to hear something. A low sound, way off in the distance. Faint at first, like wind. Then a vibration, like footsteps, only too even. Too measured. Almost like breathing, but slow and rhythmic, like a long inhale stretched over hundreds of feet. It didn't get louder exactly. Just closer. I threw the car in reverse and started backing up fast. Headlights swaying across the brush, the tires kicking up dust. No sign of the guy. No footprints I could see. Just emptiness. After about 100 yards, the road reappeared, pavement smoothing under my wheels like it had always been there. The radio flickered back to life with some random late-night talk show. The GPS rebooted, and my phone screen finally updated, 12:38 a.m. I didn't stop again until I was back near the freeway. Didn't even cancel the ride. Just ended the app entirely, yanked the dashcam from its mount, and tossed it in the glove box like it had betrayed me. I didn't sleep that night. Next morning, I plugged the cam into my laptop to check the footage. Maybe just for peace of mind, maybe to confirm I hadn't imagined the whole thing. The files loaded normally. I skipped to the timestamp, 12:12 a.m. to 12:37 a.m., and there it was. Everything. The drive. The guy in the back seat. Silent, motionless. Even the audio caught the last thing I said. "Hey, are you sure this is it?" Then the door shuts. And the footage cuts. Just like that. Instant blackout. No static, no corruption. Just a clean file that ends the moment he walks off screen. But here's the part that really got me. 12 hours later, 12:37 p.m., the dashcam starts recording again. On its own. No prompt. No motion sensor trigger. The car was parked in my driveway, keys inside. But the camera kicked back on like it had never stopped. Only it wasn't recording my neighborhood. It was recording desert. Same dirt. Same horizon. No road in sight. And the man? He was there. On camera. Walking away. Barefoot. Into the empty heat. At first I thought it had to be some kind of glitch. There was no way that footage was real. I hadn't driven anywhere that morning, hadn't even touched the car since the night before. But there it was, clear as day. 12:37 p.m. timestamp, the dashcam flickering to life by itself, recording a wide shot of scorched, lifeless desert. The kind of emptiness that hums in your ears if you stand in it too long. No shadows from the inside of the car, no door opening, no gear shift movement. Nothing to indicate I was in the driver's seat. And still, the car was moving. Not fast, maybe 5 miles per hour, like it was coasting. But the camera kept recording like it was mounted properly. Horizon stable. Windshields clean. No sign of me. And ahead of the car, maybe 50 feet, was the man. Same black clothes. Still barefoot. Walking straight ahead with that same weird, robotic posture. Arms stiff at his sides. Head facing forward. But the detail that made my stomach lurch? His shirt was dry. Crisp. Untouched by sweat or dirt, even though he'd supposedly been out there all night, and now in the middle of 90-something degree heat. No footprints visible behind him, either. Just undisturbed sand. The video ran for almost 7 minutes. No cuts. No motion blur. Just the car following him at a steady crawl. He never looked back. Never turned his head. He just kept walking. And then, at exactly 12:44 p.m., he stopped. No cue. No destination. Just halted mid-step and stood there, like someone pressed pause. His shoulders lifted slightly, as if he were inhaling. Then he raised one hand, not to wave, not to signal, but just lifted it to the side, palm open, and held it there. The car stopped too. The camera stayed fixed on his back. For another full minute neither of us moved. Then, and this part gave me full-body chills, he turned his head. Just slightly. Just enough that you could see the line of his jaw, the shape of his ear. But not his face. And then the screen went black. Not like the battery died, more like the file ended. A clean stop. 7 minutes and 54 seconds of footage. I played it over and over. There was no sound, no dash info, no cabin audio. Just the man. And that damn road that wasn't there. When I finally pulled myself together enough to check the physical car, to convince myself I hadn't somehow blacked out and gone for a joyride, I found it exactly where I'd left it. Driveway. Doors locked. Dashcam still sitting in the glove box, exactly as I'd thrown it. The odometer? Untouched. No miles added. Not a single speck of dirt on the tires. It was like the car had never left. But the camera had. I didn't tell anyone at first. What was I supposed to say? Hey, my dashcam recorded a guy walking barefoot into the desert while my car apparently drove itself behind him. No one would believe that. I barely believed it myself. But it was real. I knew it. I could feel it every time I replayed the footage. That silence, not just the absence of sound, but the presence of something underneath. That almost imperceptible hum, like air being pulled out of a room. It didn't just unsettle me. It lingered in me. Like the camera hadn't just recorded something, it had brought something back. I didn't drive for a few days after that. Kept the app off. Made up some excuse about the car needing maintenance to avoid work. Meanwhile, I obsessed over that video. I scrubbed it frame by frame, trying to catch a glitch, a reflection, anything that would explain it. Nothing. Every frame was clean. Sharp. No signs of editing. No skip timestamps. Just a slow, silent procession into nowhere. But on the third day, I noticed something I hadn't before. In the very last second before the video cuts, as the man is standing still, arm half raised, there's a shape in the distance. Barely visible. At first I thought it was heat shimmer, but no, this was solid. A kind of structure, low to the ground. Square edges. Just a few pixels wide. I enhanced it best I could, and it looked almost like a hatch. A concrete slab? Something half buried in the sand. I froze the image. My hands were sweating. Because I'd seen something like that before. A few years back, I dropped off a techie guy who worked with drone mapping. He told me there were parts of Arizona, mostly Bureau of Land Management zones, where decommissioned testing sites were just left behind. No fences, no signs. Just miles of desert, and here and there these sealed hatches that led nowhere. Or at least, nowhere now. When I asked what they were for, he just laughed and said, "Sometimes it's cheaper to bury history than explain it." I never forgot that. So now, seeing that shape at the end of the dashcam footage, the same direction the man was walking, I had a sick feeling deep in my chest. A feeling that whatever he was heading toward wasn't just random desert. It was chosen. That night, around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. No caller ID. Just a notification from my dashcam app, the one I'd disconnected days ago. New footage available. I stared at the screen, pulse hammering. I hadn't driven anywhere. The cam had been unplugged. Not even on Wi-Fi. But there it was. A new file. Timestamped 1:58 a.m. I hesitated, then hit play. This time, the footage wasn't desert. It was me. Sleeping. In my bed. At first I thought it was a mistake. Maybe some old footage from a phone sync, or a fluke recording from another device. Something rational. Something that would make this not what it looked like. But it wasn't old. The clothes I was wearing, gray t-shirt, black basketball shorts, I'd put them on right before bed that night. The position, lying on my left side, arm under the pillow, breathing slow, that was how I'd fallen asleep a few hours earlier. There's no way this was a reused clip. This was live. The footage was only 32 seconds long. The angle was fixed, like the camera had been placed on my nightstand or floating a few feet from the edge of the bed. No movement, no sound. Just me. Sleeping. Peaceful. Unaware. Then, at the 30-second mark, I shifted. Not much, just rolled onto my back, but in doing so, my face turned toward the lens. And my eyes opened. Only in the footage. Not in real life. I watched as the me on screen opened his eyes, slowly, deliberately, and stared directly into the camera. Not groggy, not confused, but with this, knowing expression. Like he'd been waiting for the moment. Like he saw something behind the camera. Like he wasn't looking at me at all. He didn't blink. Didn't move. Just stared. Then the video cut. No fade, no static. Just black. I dropped the phone. I remember the way it hit the floor, soft, padded thud against the carpet, and the silence that followed. I sat there, too scared to move, heart pounding in my throat. I don't remember falling asleep again. But I remember waking up the next morning and immediately checking the dashcam. Still in the glove box. Still unplugged. Battery dead. But the file? Still on the app. That whole day I couldn't focus on anything. Every time I passed a reflective surface, a window, a screen, even the bathroom mirror, I'd flinch. Like I expected to see him. That other version of me, staring back. I finally caved and showed the video to a friend of mine. David. Chill guy. No nonsense. Big into electronics. I didn't give him any context, just sent him the clip and asked what he thought. His response came 3 minutes later. Where was this filmed? I told him it looked like my bedroom. He wrote back one word. Look closer. So I did. I opened the clip on a bigger screen. Paused it. Brightened the image. Studied the corners of the room. And that's when I noticed something. The window, the one right behind my bed, was on the wrong wall. Everything was flipped. Not mirrored, reversed. Like a copy of my room, made from memory by someone who had only ever seen it once. And in that version of my room, there were no doors. The walls in the video were seamless. Not just blank, but perfectly smooth. No trim. No vents. No light switches. No sign that the room had ever been built by human hands. Just 4 slabs of pale drywall and a window that looked out into nothing. Black space. I paused the footage and leaned in, studying the me, in bed. Same face, same haircut, same sleep position. But his skin looked a shade paler. His lips slightly parted, like he was breathing differently. Slower. Too slow. I stared at his eyes, still open, still locked on the camera in that cold, alert, waiting stare. Something clicked inside me right then. That wasn't me. It was someone, or something, wearing me. I stopped driving altogether after that. Deleted the Uber app. Wiped the dashcam memory, yanked the whole unit out and boxed it up. It didn't matter. A day later, there was a new video waiting on my phone. No dashcam. No app. Just a file. 202405007_ghost1.mov. I didn't open it at first. I just sat at my kitchen table, phone face down, trying to stay still. It was like the moment before a panic attack, when your body knows something's wrong but hasn't decided which system to shut down yet. Eventually, curiosity, or maybe inevitability, won out. I tapped the file. The screen lit up. At first, desert again. Same endless tan dust, same ridge line in the distance. The camera was much closer to the ground this time, like it had been dropped or was recording from a lower angle. But what it showed made my throat tighten. It was the hatch. Now clearly visible. Half buried in the sand, concrete lip exposed, metal door open. Not kicked open. Not forced. Just unlatched, like someone had been expected. The camera slowly zoomed in. I don't know how, there was no sound of movement, no shaking, but the frame drew tighter until the screen showed only the open hatch and the void below it. Then, in the bottom corner, something moved. I thought it was an animal at first. A shadow. But it climbed up the rim of the hatch slowly, deliberately. And it had my face. Same jaw. Same mouth. Same stubble I hadn't shaved in days. But the eyes, they were black. No whites. No pupils. Just pits. Deep, unreadable, hungry. The thing climbed halfway out of the hatch and just crouched there, its arms too long, fingers spread against the sand like it was getting a feel for the air. Then it turned, toward the camera, and smiled. I swear I could feel that smile through the screen. Then, just as the footage was about to end, the thing spoke. One word. Soon. And the screen went black. I didn't sleep that night. I left the lights on in every room. Sat on the couch with a baseball bat in my lap like that was going to help. I even opened the front door a few times just to make sure nothing was waiting outside. Not that I had any clue what I was checking for. That thing, whatever had crawled out of the hatch, wasn't going to knock. Around 3:17 a.m., I got another notification. Not from the DASHCAM app. Not even from the camera roll. AirDrop request. From R. No image preview. No file name. Just the request. I sat there staring at the screen like a deer in headlights. I don't know how long I waited. Maybe 5 minutes. Maybe 30 seconds. But the request just sat there, hovering, pulsing gently like it was breathing. Then it timed out. And I swear to God, the second it disappeared, my front porch light flickered. Once. Twice. Then held steady. I didn't go check it. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just following me. It was testing me. Pushing a little more each night, like it was trying to see how far it could crawl before I screamed. The next morning, I finally decided to go back through the original DASHCAM footage, the ride out to the end of the road. I don't know what I thought I'd find. Maybe a glitch in the file metadata, maybe some explanation that would put a wall between me and the impossible. But there was something I hadn't noticed before. Something small. At exactly 12:24 a.m., when we were passing an old gas station on the outskirts of the city, the man in the back seat, silent, still, statue-like, blinked. For the first and only time. And when he did, he looked into the rearview mirror. Directly at me. Just for a moment. Then his eyes shifted to something else, something in the passenger seat. There was no one there. At least, not that I could see. But his gaze didn't waver. It was focused. Intent. Like whatever he was looking at had been sitting there the entire ride. I went back through the rest of the footage. Watched it frame by frame. And once you know where to look, you start to notice little things. The way the cabin lights flicker every few miles, even though my electrical system's solid. The way the shadows inside the car don't always match the motion of the streetlights. The way reflections in the windshield don't line up with the car's interior. Like something is riding with us, just out of sync. Just far enough outside of time to stay hidden until you squint at the right moment. That night, I did something stupid. I got in the car. Not to drive. Just to sit. To try and feel if it was still there. I closed the door. Let the silence settle. And then I looked at the rearview mirror. Not to check behind me. But to see if it would blink back. I must have sat there for 15, maybe 20 minutes. Car off. Cabin dark. Just me and the quiet creak of cooling metal. I kept my eyes locked on the rearview, waiting for something, a shift, a flicker, a blink. Nothing. But the silence started to get dense. Like there was weight to it. Like the air had thickened somehow. It felt like I wasn't alone, even though I couldn't hear or see anyone. Just this subtle pressure behind my seat, the kind that makes the hairs on your neck lift even when your brain tries to reason it away. I turned slowly. Just enough to glance into the back seat. Still empty. But then, in the reflection of the rear view, I saw something that wasn't there when I got in. A smudge. High on the passenger window. Not just any smudge, it looked like a handprint. Pressed from the inside. 5 fingers. Long splayed. The kind of mark left behind by skin that's dry, cracked. Almost like it had been trying to get out. I stared at it. My breath caught. My chest didn't rise again for a solid 10 seconds. And then, it moved. The handprint didn't shift like someone dragging their hand across the glass. It twitched. The fingertips bent inward, subtly, as if the thing behind the glass was tightening its grip. I scrambled out of the car, heart smashing my ribs. I didn't even shut the door, just stumbled backward into the driveway, nearly tripping over my own feet. I stood there, chest heaving, waiting for something to follow me out. Nothing did. But the print was still there. Pressed firm against the window from the inside. I didn't sleep that night. Again. But by dawn, I knew what I had to do. I needed to go back. To the end of the road. To where it started. It felt like this thing, this passenger or copy, or whatever it was, had left something unfinished. Like it was waiting for me to finish the route it started. I mapped it out the best I could from memory. The gas station, the broken pavement, the wooden stake sign. I stocked a bag with water, my phone, 2 flashlights, extra batteries, and the old dashcam, dead, but maybe still watching. And I drove. Middle of the day. No rideshare apps. Just me. Heading south. Mile by mile. Until the road began to crack again. And there it was. The sign. End of road. I stopped the car. Stepped out. And I heard it. A low wind. But not natural. It sounded like it was breathing. In and out. Slow. Measured. Like it had been waiting. I looked out across the desert. And far in the distance, barely visible through the haze, was the man. Standing. Still barefoot. Still facing away. Like he had never left. I don't know what I expected to feel in that moment. Relief, maybe, finally confronting whatever this was. Or fear, full-bodied and sharp. But what I felt was resignation. Like this had already happened. Like I was just catching up to it. The man stood about 100 yards out, motionless. Back to me. Same black clothes. Same pale skin. Same posture, like he was being held up by invisible strings. I called out. "Hey!" My voice felt thin in the desert air. Swallowed. He didn't move. I took a step forward. Another. Crunch of gravel under my feet. The sun overhead was punishing, but I barely felt it. My skin was cold. Tight. Like something was watching through me, not at me. When I got within maybe 30 feet, I saw it. His feet. Still bare. But no blood, no dirt, no cuts. Just wrong. Skin too smooth, too pale, like they'd never touched ground at all. I raised the dashcam instinctively, though I hadn't powered it in days. Still dead. I reached out. Not to touch him. Just to feel if he was real. But before I got close, he turned. And I froze. Because it wasn't the man from the car. It was me. My face. My jaw. My shirt. The one I was wearing 2 nights ago, the first night this all started. But his eyes. They were bottomless. No whites. Just dark. Wet. Reflective. He smiled. Not wide. Not dramatic. Just enough for me to see that he recognized me. And then, without a word, he pointed. Not at the car. Not back at the road. He pointed down. To the ground. And the sand around his feet began to shift. Sink. Like it was opening for him. Revealing something beneath. A corner of steel. The edge of a door. The hatch. I backed away. Stumbling. But before I could turn and run, he said something. Quiet. Crisp. And in my exact voice. You brought it home. Then the sand rushed up, swallowing him whole in seconds. Gone. Silence. Just desert again. I turned and ran. Didn't stop until I hit pavement. Didn't breathe right again until I was back behind the wheel with the doors locked and the AC blasting like it could blow the memory off my skin. I drove home and never looked back. That was a week ago. Since then, no new videos. No airdrops. No midnight notifications. But last night, I checked my phone. There was a new folder in my photo roll. Drives. Inside were 10 clips. Each one about 25 minutes long. Dashcam footage. All of them showing my car, driving through the desert. All of them from angles that couldn't possibly exist, from high above, from beneath the chassis, from the passenger seat. And in every single one? I'm not the one driving.